Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel, and in this video I am going to be setting my lineups for week 3 of the 2020 fantasy football season. I'm going to be, showing you which guys I'm starting, which guys I'm benching. We're going to be dealing with some injuries to guys like George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Raheem Mostert, all sorts of start-sit decisions, and I'm also going to recap what I did on the waiver wire this week and how my matchups went for week 2, because you guys did see me set my lineups in week 2 as well. But before we get into that, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, let's get into this video. So actually, before we actually, get into like all the transactions and setting the lineups and stuff, I do have to let you guys know that I did already actually try recording this video once. But after I got done recording, I was having some technical issues with stuff. It's a long story, but long story short, I would usually have a face cam. That is not currently possible right now. I'm gonna try to get all this stuff figured out, but yeah, we just had some issues, so I'm just redoing it right now. So I say that because you will also notice that normally, if you guys have been watching my videos, you know that I normally set my lineups in the videos. Like, I literally put the players in and out of my lineups in these videos. I already did that the first time I recorded it, but I'm still going to talk through what I was thinking when I did that, and it'll pretty much be the exact same thing. You just literally won't see me put the actual player in the lineup. You know what I'm saying? All right, so with that being said, let's get into these leagues right here. So this is my 2-quarterback league. There are 10 teams in this league. The only transaction I made this week was I dropped Sony Michel for Darrell Henderson. I spent 6 of my $200 fab dollars on him. And then here is my week 2 matchup. We ended up winning in week 2. As you see, Matt Ryan and Kyler Murray had good weeks. My receiving core is looking strong, and they played pretty well. I guess the main thing to note in terms of start-sit decisions for week 2 was we did play Allen Robinson over DJ Moore, and DJ Moore did outproduce Allen Robinson. DJ Moore had himself a pretty good game, but luckily he didn't have like a huge monster game, so we didn't miss out on anything like that at all. And yeah, we got the dub. We had the second most points in the league this week, 165.36. We beat our opponent, who had 127.46. All right, so now that we recapped what we've been up to, here is the lineup for week 3. And I don't remember if I said what my record was in this league. I am 2-0 in this league right now. And yeah, so we're trying to get to 3-0 in this league. And this week we're going to be starting Matt Ryan and Kyler Murray at quarterback. Running back, we're pretty much stuck with these guys. I mean, Melvin Gordon and James Conner, they've been good, with the exception of James Conner getting hurt in week 1. But, if James Conner is healthy, I think he'll have a good game. Melvin Gordon, I mean, I'm not going to be playing Tyreek Cohen, Edmonds, or Henderson over him. So he's our second running back right there. And then, as you guys can see, these are my wide receivers. I got a pretty strong wide receiver core. I went very wide receiver heavy. This is actually an auction league. I forgot to mention that. I just ended up getting good values on these wide receivers. So we got Cooper, Ridley, Robinson, and Tyreek Hill. Like I said before, I did already set this lineup. So when I recorded this the first time, I was really deciding between DJ Moore and Allen Robinson, because I think Amari Cooper, I feel like that's going to be a high scoring game. I want pieces of that offense in that game. Calvin Ridley, you cannot afford to sit him right now. He's just on fire. Tyreek Hill, it's a tough matchup, but he has like elite upside, as much upside as any player in the league. So I really don't want to leave that on my bench, especially with, the rest of my receiving core looking pretty solid. So I ended up picking Allen Robinson to start over DJ Moore, just because even though Allen Robinson hasn't had a great start to the season, I really do like this matchup, and I think he is due for a big game. And it's not that I don't like DJ Moore. It's just that I have really good other wide receivers. And we're sticking with Zach Ertz at tight end over Tyler Higbee, even though Higbee did have a 3-touchdown game last week. And another thing to note is that my opponent, he does have a lead on me already. He did play Ryan Fitzpatrick, who had almost 25 fantasy points, but I'm not going to change my lineup strategy because of that or anything. So that was my 2-quarterback auction league right there, half PPR. Now we're moving on to this league right here. This is a 12-team, 1-quarterback, non-PPR league. So this is what I've been doing on the waiver wire. I added Dalton Schultz and Russell Gage. In order to do that, I had to drop Daniel Jones, and I actually put Christian McCaffrey on the injured reserve to make room for one of these players. Russell Gage, I spent 37 of my 200 fab points on. And then in week 2, we ended up winning 104.68 to 98.38. We'll take a quick look at the box score here. Even with Will Fuller goosing, we were still able to, have a decent week. My running backs really showed up, even though both of these guys got hurt. As you guys know, if you've been following along, I did trade Noah Fant for Raheem Mostert and who was it? It was Djax. I made that trade after week 1, and it looked like it was off to a good start. Raheem Mostert had that 80-yard touchdown to start the game, but then he got hurt. So him and McCaffrey are going to be missing week 3. So we're definitely going to have to make some changes to our lineup because of that. But yeah, this was kind of what happened in week 2. You can take a look at my bench as well. Josh Kelley is a guy that I really like moving forward. So we're going to have to make some changes to this lineup with those injuries. So let's get into that right here and right now. So as I said, I already did officially set the lineup, but again, I'm just going to walk you through it. So McCaffrey, I put on IR. He's going to miss at least 3 weeks. That gave me a roster spot to add, Dalton Schultz as a sleeper tight end. So at running back, I also had to replace Raheem Mostert. So what I did was I drafted David Montgomery. I believe he fell a little bit in the draft because he was projected to miss some time with an injury. But I didn't really think the injury was that serious, and I kind of liked his his upside just as like a starting running back on offense. He didn't have the greatest rookie year, but I'm glad I drafted him. He's had a decent start to the season. He had 18.7 non-PPR points. Again, this is non-PPR. So he's actually a very good replacement, especially in a matchup with Atlanta. I'm not scared of that. We got Brees at quarterback. Josh Kelley, I made a video all about just him. He is my start of the week in terms of, obviously there's other guys I would start over him. He's not like my number 1 running back, but just in terms of a guy that you don't necessarily think about starting, you might think, oh, he's the backup in Los Angeles, but he had 23 carries last week, and he caught a couple passes as well. And this is a game against Carolina that I think is either going to be close or the Chargers are going to be leading. So I expect him to get a decent workload in this game as well. And the Panthers have given up the most fantasy points to running backs. So he is a solid replacement. And then we got Chris Carson. He, is already my running back too. And we're just going to keep him in the lineup against Dallas. And then at wide receiver, I took out Will Fuller and put in Chris Godwin. The only reason I didn't play Chris Godwin last week is because he was out with that concussion. He should be back. There should be, no residual effects of the concussion. It's not like a hamstring injury where he's going to be having to deal with that. He was concussed. He cleared the protocol. He's good to go. So the only decision that I really had to make when I was setting my lineup the first time I did this was, do I start Josh Kelley in the flex? Like, imagine Chris Carson is at running back, Josh Kelley's at flex. Do I start Will Fuller, Josh Kelley, maybe Russell Gage? I ended up picking Josh Kelley just because of the matchup and his workload. And then I'm sticking with Mason Crosby and the Cardinals defense at my kicker and defense spot. And then finally, this is my Dynasty League. This is a half PPR, 10-team, 1 quarterback league. And as you can see, some trades have been going down in my league. We got some Joe Mixon, first round pick action, Eckler, and Kenyon Drake's. He's on the move. We got a lot of stuff going on in this league. I didn't do too much on the waiver wire. I did add Dalton Schultz in this league as well. I ended up bidding 59 of my 200 fab points, and I was the only one that put in a bid for him. And so obviously I did get him. I also put in a bid for Drew Sample, but I only had 1 roster spot. So even though I did bid the most on Drew Sample, I bid $38 on him. The next highest was $31. I did not get Drew Sample because I put Dalton Schultz as my higher priority, and I only had the 1 roster spot. So we got the Dallas Cowboys tight end right here, and I'm fine with that. And then Mike Davis got picked up in this league by the McCaffrey owner. That's another thing I forgot to touch on in my other league, in this league right here, where I do have McCaffrey on IR. I put in like a smaller bid for Davis, but I honestly think, like, I'm not trying to, submit like half my fab money for a guy that I'm not really that confident in. He'll play for like 3-4 weeks, and who knows how good he's going to be. There's talk that Curtis Samuel might get carries, so we'll see. I mean, obviously if I could have him, I'd rather have him than not, but he's just going for way too much fab in my opinion, but we'll see how it plays out. And plus in this league also, even if I had Mike Davis, I would not play him over anyone in this lineup. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't worth it for me to bid that much on him in this league where I have McCaffrey. And in this Dynasty League, I actually did consider picking up Mike Davis before the season in case this happened, but I didn't do it. And now I wish I had, but we're all good. So before we set our lineup for week 3, we're just going to recap the week 2 lineups. So I did get the W in this league as well. Did I even tell you guys, in this league I'm 1-1 right now? So we won in all of our leagues last week. So that's pretty awesome. We're 2-0 in this league right here, in my auction league that I started off the video with, and we're 1-1 in this league right here. So we're looking pretty good. This is week 2. Obviously, Cam Newton and Russell Wilson went head-to-head in this matchup. That's pretty cool. But, you know, my running backs kind of went off. My wide receivers also all had very good games. I played Hayden Hurst, who filled in for George Kittle, who's another guy that we're going to have to talk about later on in this video. And he filled in admirably. I actually did make the wrong decision. I played I played Hayden Hurst over Jonnu Smith. And Hayden Hurst had himself a very, very good game. 72 yards and a touchdown. But Jonnu Smith actually had a better game. 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I'm not, you know, unhappy with Hayden Hurst, but it's always annoying when you play the wrong person. But I'll take it, man. I'll take 15.7 points for my tight end any day of the week, especially, you know, when my starter George Kittle is out. I will take that. So yeah, this is pretty much what happened in week 2. Now we're going to set our lineup for week 3. So Cam Newton, we're sticking with him at quarterback. And then I am sticking with these 4 guys at running back. James Conner, Miles Sanders, Jonathan Taylor, and CEH. I mean, that's a very, very good core of running backs. And if you're wondering how I ended up getting all these running backs, guys, this is my 3rd year, or sorry, this is actually not only my 3rd year. This is just the 3rd year in general that this league has been around. And I started off with like no running backs. I was very lucky to draft James Conner very late in the startup draft. And then ever since then, you know, I went very wide receiver heavy in the startup draft. And ever since then, I drafted Miles Sanders with the 9th overall pick last year. I drafted CEH with the 1st overall pick, you know, in this most recent rookie draft. I got the 1st overall pick by missing the playoffs, and then we have a consolation bracket. I won the bracket, so I got the 1st overall pick. And then I traded Keenan Allen for the 2nd overall pick, which I used to take Jonathan Taylor. So that's kind of how we got this team looking the way it does right now. I actually drafted Cam Newton back in the day in our startup too, and his value dipped quite a bit, but now it has risen. So we're sticking with him at quarterback, these guys at running back. And then I did have Marvin Jones at wide receiver, but I took him out and put Chris Godwin back in there because now he's playing. He's not missing any more time with that concussion. We're sticking with Hopkins and Amari Cooper. I ended up putting Jonnu Smith in the lineup instead of Hayden Hurst. I mentioned this the first time I recorded this video, but if I do change that last minute, I will put that in the description and or a comment down below. I'll have to figure out what I'm doing if I want to play Jonnu or Hayden Hurst. But as of right now, I'm playing Jonnu. I am a Vikings fan, but you know their defense is not looking very good, and especially with AJ Brown out for the Titans, I think Jonnu Smith will get, you know, a few targets, potential for a touchdown. And also, like Hayden Hurst, Julio Jones might not be playing for Atlanta. We'll have to see. But I think both are good plays. So it's a tough decision. But yeah, this is my bench right here. Like I like McKinnon. I'm not playing him over, you know, any of these 4 guys. I'm going to play Hopkins, Cooper, and Godwin over, you know, any of these wide receivers. It's not that I dislike a lot of these players. It's just that I have very good options that I can start. And as you can see, here's George Kittle injured on the bench. And I also made the switch from Chicago, who I played last week, to the Chargers, who are playing Carolina this week. I think that's a better matchup than the Bears, who are, you know, at Atlanta. And, you know, obviously the Panthers are without McCaffrey. I think the Chargers are a better play this week than the Bears at defense. And even with these injuries, you know, we got Tevin Coleman on IR and Cortland Sutton on IR. We got Deebo Samuel injured still on our taxi squad. We're still looking pretty good this week. And I believe the person I'm playing, he already played Mike Gesicki, who, guys, I actually had Mike Gesicki on my team a long time ago, but I ended up dropping him for some reason. And yeah, he's looking pretty good. He didn't have that great of a week this week on Thursday night, but he did get in the end zone, so that kind of saved his week. So yeah, we pretty much are done setting our lineups for week 3. I hope you guys were able to get something out of this, see some of my start-sit decisions, see how I'm dealing with some of these injuries going on in my league. A lot of it comes down to depth. It's very important to have depth. You can see, even in this Dynasty League, I didn't settle. Even though I have George Kittle, you know, I made moves to get these guys. I bid a lot on Hayden Hurst. I actually had Jonnu Smith at one point, sort of like Mike Gesicki. I dropped Jonnu Smith at one point. Someone else picked him up. But then last year, I traded a 2nd-round pick for Jonnu and a 3rd in return, and that has definitely paid off. So I'm glad I had that depth behind George Kittle. And then same thing in this league right here. You know, I had McCaffrey and Mostert. You know, they go down, but I got good running back depth. So I'm glad I have that going on for me. So yeah, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more fantasy football content, and good luck in week 3.